So first off, Dave Stevenson, who's a senior, a lot of people may not know, worked at the Western Bulldogs, Nike, has resigned today and is going to be the CEO of the National Basketball League. Larry Kesselman has recruited him personally, and basketball's taking off. We understand as well that Travis Old, it's a bit of an open secret this, but I can confirm he will be interviewed for the CEO's role at the Grand Prix. That'll happen, I think, in the next week, if not in the next few days. So that's all happening. So two executives, one has gone and the other one is a chance to go. Kylie Watson-Wheeler is being mentioned in dispatches, the Western Bulldogs president and also the CEO of Disney in Australia. Now, it's going to be an interesting situation because her name has just reappeared. She was there in the early discussions when it was announced that Gillon McLachlan was going, and she's deliberately kept herself under wraps because she's got two boards that are going to be asking questions at the moment. So that's become messy for Kylie Watson-Wheeler, we understand. And of course, there's Andrew Dillon, who's soldiering on, and at the moment, I believe he is going to be appointed the CEO of the AFL. If, on the small chance that Gillon McLachlan doesn't stay on.
Well, how small is that chance, Ed? Because I'm with you. I feel once May 9 comes and goes, and that's the date of the federal budget, and that's the attachment to the federal budget's funding for the Tasmanian Stadium. That will be the day I feel that this will all open up publicly. But so yeah. Percentage chance Gillon McLachlan stays on in your eyes?
I'll say 10% at the moment.
10% still a fair bit.
Yeah,
Can there be both?
Maybe growing. Well, here's the situation from what I understand is that there has always been a lot of people who have said to Gill, don't go. And there's a growing feeling that Gill was just burnt out after COVID.
He was.
And then there was all this other stuff going on. And now he's got the TV rights done and Tassie's coming up. And as you said, we'll know what's going on there. But there's also a lot of people who say that Andrew Dillon is the man to take this position and run with it. I think there is something that behind the scenes for the last couple of years, some of the presidents, and I was involved in this, have said to the AFL that you have to restructure. Where the game was before COVID to where it is today, it's completely different. 12 months of the year football with the women's and the men's. The amount of litigation that's come into the game. The changing of the rules to go with the litigation, which we're going to talk about, the tackling in a moment. So many things. Tasmania, yes, it's going to be great when we announce it's going to happen. It probably will happen. Okay, you do all those things. But the ramifications on the game, if we don't get this right. It's hard enough to see teams come from the bottom of the ladder. If there's another 42 players and 5 drafts that are compromised, it's going to be... They've got to get this right or else it's going to cock up the whole game for 10 years.
Is there a possibility they could anoint the new one in the coming weeks and still have Gill stay on? Like a transition, if you will?
I think Gill will go, pretty much when the announcement is made. And if it's Andrew Dillon, I think the football people behind the scenes are saying, we need somebody to continue, somebody who doesn't have to learn where the bathroom is, and get in there and do these things. And particularly because the biggest things in football are the litigation at the moment. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, it is, Ed. And even the delay in the whole process. I mean, there were interviews first had in June of last year, and then that was basically paused until about 6 weeks ago. I'm with you. I still feel it is going to be Andrew Dillon, and how that looks, Jimmy, to your point, under the new structure, I think it'll be markedly different. But the levels of angst have reached pretty high levels.
And Kylie Watson-Wheeler's had very strong support. Today, people were saying to me that it might have been 3-4 on the AFL Commission, which might make things a bit interesting down the track as well when Andrew Dillon, if he does take over that position.
Why has it needed, you're saying this date that's coming up, is that the whole reason why it's taken this long, or you think it's just such a mess behind the scenes?
Well, the monies attached to the funding of the stadium, Lordo, weren't what they wanted it to be initially. And there's complications politically with the federal and state governments in Tassie. May 9, as we said before, is federal budget day. There'll be a number attached to that deal then. Look, it might be a holding pattern in terms of why Gillon McLachlan is still here. And the other angle that's been used against Andrew Dillon, in the eyes of some club people who are privy to the situation, is that Andrew hasn't pushed himself for the job hard enough. Now, I don't even know what that means. You're either good enough for the job or you're not, and that's not in his nature to do that anyway. But that was used against him as a slope.
Well, I was at, without giving away, I was Chatham House rules, so I'll get into trouble. Sorry, Lindsay Fox, my apologies. I was at Lindsay's birthday today, and the Prime Minister was there, and Gill was they were there talking, so they were working hard. It's still going.
But for you to say 10% chance for Gill to stay on, that's a significant percentage.
You put to me, and I'm saying
it's a significant percentage. It's not 1%.
That is like Mickey Malthouse staying for Buck said.
What's that?
I just don't think it works. When you've got... Andrew Dillon doesn't want Gillon McLachlan sitting over the top here. How long's Andrew Dillon been at the AFL for?
No,
He's been the 2IC effectively for Gillon's reign.
Yeah.
For 9 years, 10
but
years.
I'll tell you, there's some big things. So these are the things that, you know, Marvel Stadium is now not being used enough, OK? It is a couple of $1 billion worth of real estate. At the moment over the summer, we have a couple of Renegades games at the moment. Right? That's a job. There's people in these jobs, but these are things that everyone's looking at. You've got the men's and the women's competition. There's issues at stake at both, OK? There's concussion, there's racism, there's the women game with the injuries that have been happening, there's Tasmania, there's all these things that are still there. So just before we go, you know, I think that there is still a hope among some people that Gill, Andrew Dillon and even Brendan Gale to come in and maybe grab hold of Tasmania and the football side of things.
Yep.
Andrew Dillon, so to your point, Lloydie, Andrew Dillon, give him a bigger role, and his role is almost the most important in football at the moment. And if Gill stayed, he could be over the top of it and do what Gill does, which is dip in and out of everything. I still think that Gill will go, but there is a push on. One before we go, the Commission has had 2 spots empty. Now, as I said, the clubs don't even know half of them how it goes, right? There is a massive push for Matthew Pavlich as number 1 seed, and one of Andrew Ireland or Lee Matthews. So a younger person coming through, 2 elder statesmen of the game to take those positions. Now, at the moment, the AFL Commission have shown no interest in finding anybody for those positions, but the clubs are finally starting to realise, hang on a second.
You get a football person back on the commission.